Welcome to the Sports Circus from fabulous Las Vegas and from Hawaii all the way to New York and Buffalo, Toronto, that whole area up there. Folks, I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We're seeing a lot of that in the NFL with their appeals and suspensions and whatever, all that crap. I don't understand, Lenny. Lenny, let me set it up for you. Why don't you explain to the audience, especially the Raider fans, how in the world that a suspension could be handed out by the NFL and then a player can appeal it and then there's no penalty if they lose the appeal. The only thing that can happen is something good for the player and nothing bad for the player. I don't understand that. Go ahead and get into it.
Now, here's the difference with it, and a lot of people that have, say, fought a traffic ticket or a citation, and I have. So if you go to court, you have to put up the bond money for your ticket. You have to pay your ticket, then you fight your ticket. And if you lose that, then you lose your bond money, you lose the amount of money you paid for the ticket, and it goes on your record permanently.
Yes. So there's a penalty.
I don't understand. There's a big penalty for it. There's an additional penalty to it when you lose in court. So the thing that we don't understand here in the circus is how they can go ahead through the Players Association and they can dispute it. It can go under an appeal, a review. Then after that, if they lose, then that's it. It's no skin off their nose. The same exact penalty that was imposed is what they get.
Right.
But if they win, then they get it lessened.
Right. They get a prize.
Get the suspension lessened.
Yeah, they get a prize, and that's wrong.
Why is that, and how fair?
I don't know. It's not fair. And I know, our political analyst over here is bubbling to get in, but hold that thought for a second, because look, I know it's his, and I'm referring to, of course, his Vontaze Burfict. With the 5 games, whatever, going down to 3 games, whatever. How does a 40% reduction in the penalty actually, I don't know, how is it approved? I mean, why is it approved? What is the reasoning? It's not just because, it's a guy from a particular team. There has to be some method to the madness, Bucky. What the hell's going on?
Well, it's almost like it's standard operating procedure. Start out high and then work your way down. And any player who doesn't step up and say, I'm going to appeal, is probably out of their minds, because who knows? I mean, how much do they make per game? If they make $100,000 per game, let's take Burfict, he just got back $200,000 by, like you say, no consequences if he loses, but he wins the appeal. So why wouldn't everybody appeal?
Right. I mean,
so
Lenny,
apparently
that's
what they're doing.
Lenny,
right?
Exactly, Lenny. This makes no sense. There has to be some penalty for losing, and there actually has to be a real arbitrator or something that is really neutral. And it can't just be the league saying, we're going to punish him in the media, and then we're going to reduce it a little bit. So maybe he might lose a little bit of social media followers just for a time being. But in fact, all they're doing, Bucky wants to get in here, all they're doing is saying, okay, shame on you, poor baby. Okay, go ahead, Snowflake, and jump in. Lenny, you respond, then throw it back to Bucky.
Okay, here's the thing about it. When is it going to line up to be fair for everyone? Because the common fan looks at this and they said, if I got busted, if I had an infraction, if I had something I had to go to court to, and it was something that was the law, and it was concrete, that's where it should stay. It should stay right there. It should be 5 games. You can't dispute it. Fine. If you want to go back to a penalty, to the replay, you want to look it over. But at the time of the infraction, they went ahead and took a good look at it, and they said, this guy hit him illegally. It's a new rule. Yes, it's a new rule, but they still have to stick to their guns. That's what needs to happen now. They need to do that instead of this garbage where they're appealing something and then they get it reduced by 2 games. All right, Bucky, what do you say?
Well, yeah, and that's the problem. They are expecting, I guess, maybe that's why the NFL itself is starting out high, knowing that the Players Association is going to step in. They're going to litigate themselves out of a game or two or three or whatever the case may be, and they're kind of building that into the fine itself. They start high, and maybe it was worth a 2 or 3 game suspension, but they started out with 5 because they knew it would be litigated down anyway.
You know what this is, guys? All this is a bunch of players creating problems and crime and crap like that, and basically they are looting the system. Lenny, they are just looters. That's it.
That's a good point. They are looting the system. They're taking advantage of it. There should be some standardization in the rules, in the penalties. This is what it is. This is the suspension, regardless of if you're with a players' union or not. There has to be some standards set, some ground rules with that need to be a stake in the ground, concrete, that cannot be compromised whatsoever. That's what needs to happen, Sal.
It's so political.
It's not.
It's so political. It's just like the icon I just sent to you on your text. It's ridiculous. All it is a talking head. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to show the fans that we really mean business, but they don't mean crap. All it is one big play. You know what? It's basically the fixed fight all over again. That's all it is.
It is. It is a fixed fight all over again. But see, people are looking at that. The players are all looking at that, Sal, and they're saying, okay, well, if I did this, well, let me go back to the ruling that they had on Vontaze, and let me see exactly what his penalty was. Let me see if it's worth it. Or you could say, my hit wasn't nearly as bad as his, and he got only a 3-game suspension. Why am I getting a 3-game suspension? Say if it started off at 3, then they're going to go ahead and they're going to shave it down to 1? And we're still waiting. We're still waiting in Dallas for theirs as well. But this ruling here, it just doesn't line up, Sal. It just doesn't seem that it was fair. It seemed that they should have stuck to their guns. And who is doing this? This one-person arbitrator like they're doing with Ezekiel Elliott? Is it a one-person arbitrator who's making the decision?
Yeah, and that's where I was going with it. I mean, how about some fairness in the process? Why don't we bring in maybe a committee, like they have in the NHL, for example. They have somebody that doles out the punishments for. It's kind of ironic, who does it right now. Brendan Shanahan does it, which is a whole nother conversation. But you've got to have a neutral committee, almost like a board of directors that are not officers in the organization, that actually make these decisions. And that's why companies, they have boards of directors, but a lot of them say, if you're going to be on our board, you cannot be an officer in our company. So basically, if you're going to be on this committee, you cannot be official you cannot be tied to the league in any way, shape, or form. That's the only fair way to do it. It has to be maybe something driven by the audience, the real audience, because those are the ones that are getting bent over in this whole thing. Because why? Where does the money go to? Then it goes back to the player. Does the player give anything back to the community? No, except for guys like J.J. Watt with the enormous effort that he's making for Hurricane Harvey. So we're running out of time here, folks, and we'll get into our response on that. And then we're going to jump into hockey in just a few minutes here on the Sports Circus.
Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal here with Bill Clement. We have special guests Robert F. Kennedy Jr., billionaire Jeff Hoffman, Mike Golick, Tom Flores,
John Stockton,
David Meltzer, Jim Tunney, Roger Craig,
Andre Reed,
Mario Andretti,
Herschel Walker,
Blake Firestone, Mike Haynes,
Kevin Green,
Brian Urlacher,
Tim Jeffcoat,
Rod Jaworski,
Al Bubba Baker,
Brett Saberhagen,
Rich Cho,
Markey,
Charles Smith, Danny McClain, Yank Barry, Grant Fuhr,
Paul Dvorsky,
President of the Vegas Golden Knights, George McPhee,
Len Komorowski, CEO of Cavaliers,
Dwight Greenwood, Mickey Studa,
Art Steele,
Tom Beebe,
Ken Sullivan,
Tom Dreesen,
Pat O'Connor, Alan Glist, 43 Tony Awards,
Walt Harris, Mike Crawford, President, CEO of the Hall of Fame,
Louis Viola, President, Paramount Famous Production, Universal Worldwide Home Entertainment, Universal Studios Home Entertainment, Glenn Berman, Randy Fun,
Professor Dr. Tommy John, Dave Robertson, Pat Williams,
Brandon Schneider,
Henry Bibby,
Mike Bibby,
Tim Donaghy,
Dan Hughes,
Marcus Johnson, George Lynn,
Larry Sanders, Steve Berlander,
Dr. Jen Welter,
Steve Lavin, Gus Perrock,
Craig Colquitt,
Paul Shortino.
My life is just a party, and parties weren't meant to last. Dickerson.
Jason Hook, guitar player for Five Finger Death Punch.
Craig Bartok, lead guitar player, songwriter for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band Heart.
Sidney Justin from the Miracles.
My name is Curtis Blow. Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court. I'm here on the Sports Circus.
Vinny from the Bronx Wanderers.
Mark Schulman, drummer for Pink, Cher, Velvet Revolver, Stevie Nicks, Sheryl Crow, Simple Minds, Richard Mark,
Aaron Fink, Breaking Benjamin,
Jason Hartlett, drummer for rock legend Ted Nugent.
Matt Starr, drummer for Ace Frehley from Kiss.
Rockstar, Todd Kearns.
Phil Buckman, the bass player in the rock band Fuel.
Dave Laurie.
Neil Donnell from the band Chicago.
This is Brad Gillis from the band Night Ranger. And
Philip Bailey.
Reasons, the reasons that we're here.
8-time Grammy Award winner. Top 100 greatest drummers of all time.
Kenny Aronoff with John Fogerty, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, Dave Grohl, Joe Walsh, John Mellencamp.
John Deddy, drummer for Slayer, Anthrax, Testament, Volbeat.
Mitch Malloy, I'm the lead singer of Great White.
Pete Thorne with Chris Cornell, Melissa Etheridge.
Rob Mount, drums with Lou Graham.
Philip Schaus, I play guitar with Accept. I play bass guitar for Ace Frehley.
Todd Morris, The Offspring.
Ty Dennis, The Doors.
Eric Aldenius, here from Bill Adams.
Red Jones, bass player for Vontae. Steelheart, Fuel. Michael Schenker Group.
Brian Trock.
Scotty McClellan.
Chris Christian.
4-time Grammy Award winner.
Heidi Merrill.
Vince Van Patten.
Daniel Negreanu.
Greg Fossilman Raymer.
Billy Hayes.
Foz Davis.
Rashad Phillips. Dr. Kristen Willemeyer.
NASA astronauts. Mike Millay.
Anthony Davis.
George Stark. Dwayne Starks.
Brian Mitchell.
Rick Upchurch.
Willie Rofe.
Jim Fossil.
Chief Schrader. Pepper Johnson.
Zandre Bad Moon, a.k.a. Rise.
Brian Jordan.
Bill Romanowski.
Dwight Hicks.
Jason McKee.
Michael Keller.
Fred Mitchell.
Tim Rando.
Tom Brenneman.
Barry Katz.
Brad Williams.
Dean Edwards.
Emmett Short.
Jason Acevedo.
It's Christina Smith.
Bruce Nahan,
Lee Haney. Rick Barry.
Cowboy Ninja. Lance Pekas. Andrew Williams.
Don Most here.
Kevin Sorbo here.
Yes.
Dr. Peter McCullough.
Damian Jackson, ex-Navy SEAL.
Margaret Carey. Tinkerbell.
Stephanie Stuckey, CEO of Stuckey's Corporation.
Christopher Lowen, founder, Marijuana Inc., Medical Marijuana Inc., Hemp Inc.
Ronnie Nunn.
Belgie Henderson.
Jack Llewellyn, sports psychologist.
Bill O'Brien.
Brad Server, grandson of Curly Howard from the Three Stooges.
Aaron Rowan.
Art Kushner.
Jose Rio in the house.
Greg Olson.
Matt Joyce. Jim Layridge. Brad Coleman.
Burst. Santana Moss.
Vance Johnson.
Donnie Shale.
Larry Bubber. Cole. Eddie Murray.
Wesley Woodyard.
Dexter Irvin. Colin Fraser. Andrew Ladd.
Dustin Penner.
Brian Killingsworth.
Bart Oates. Don Horn. Ryan McNeil. Von Kirkland.
Chucky Okobe.
Jackie Sherrill. Eddie Meter.
EJ Speed.
Destiny Woodsy. Dave Merhar.
Steve Todd. Bob Grant.
Dan Pastorini. Mark Fleming. Brad Hopkins. Lee Steinberg. Steve Watson. Dan Vincent. Mitzi Dolan. Karen Laurie.
Bo Campbell. Len Elmore. Chucky Brown.
Aubrey Huff. Chuck Joe.
John Nyland.
Andy Van Slyke.
Matt Starr. Dr. George Gauthier.
Barry Sher.
Jesse Sapolo. Dana Stubblefield.
Jeff Brago. Jeff Jager.
Gino Toretta. Jim O'Brien. Kerry Justin. JT Thompson. Jim Everett. John McLaren.
Brad Boone.
Mel Stottlemyre.
Alan Mackey.
Bailey Brom. Leonard Marshall. Gary Reasons.
Doug Plank.
Everson Walls.
Icky Wood. Tyrone Poole.
Bruce Crampton. Bush Baird. Mayor Carolyn Goodman.
Nick Mackay, voice of Salem Saberhagen, the talking cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
The father of the first family of drag racing.
John Ford.
Ricky Stenhouse.
Ben Brost, the voice of stock car racing.
Jim Strasser, founder and CEO of Cali Strong, the California Sports Company. CEO of LA Gear, Nike, Oakley, Quicksilver, owner partners of Converse.
Emery Moorhead. Kyle Turley. Dave Robinson.
Mike Truminski. Matt Doherty.
Dan Clark. Nitro. American Gladiator.
Joe Robinson. Chris Dishman. Gary Robinson. Daryl Evans. Big Theo Ratliff.
Hey, Will.
Carl Mecklenburg. Mark Carrier.
Toy Cook.
Mercury Morris.
Gary Davis. Thomas Hollywood. Henderson.
Brace. The Beast. Aleem.
Joe Cortez.
Mark Cassidy. Christopher.
Caleb Sweethands Plant.
Bronco Billy Ride.
You're watching the Sports Circus, and I am Brian Erlacher.
Lenny. I want you to get back into it. Go ahead and pick up right where you left off.
Well, how about we do this, Sal? How about we talk about, things being all well right now? Things are well right now, Sal, for Jim Harbaugh, considering now that the Gators announced that their QB will be Felipe Franks. Isn't that a relief for him now? Now he can go back to game plan, Sal, against a specific quarterback.
Actually, I think you got it backwards.
Yeah.
You certainly have it
Oh, I
backwards. Yes. All right, go ahead and start that all over again. Take two. I got the slate. Go ahead.
Just flip it that way.
Flip the script.
Anyway.
Don't we have some kind of a creative job
Let's
here?
see. How about this one?
What are you people? On dope?
See, he sort of
There
took
you go.
away. He took away from the spontaneity of it. Well, how about this one, folks? Are we taking a poll within the people? Are they calling it? And by the way, everybody on WLVL over New York, listen, we're going to be talking about hockey here now for the next couple segments or so, maybe even 3. Go ahead and give us a call at 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Give us a call if you're listening on the streaming. Otherwise, in a little while when you're listening on the live feed over there, make sure you give us a call because we're going to talk about your boys over there, the Sabres. We may even bring up the Maple Leafs just for you. Okay, moving on, Lenny.
We might even revisit the butt fumble for laughs, okay? Going into New York.
We could do that. Go ahead.
We could do that. Sal, a little tribute here to somebody in the world of sports. 48 years coaching in the NCAA, Raleigh Massimino passes away at 82 years of age, and he led Villanova, yes, to the 1985 title with 816 career wins. This man, obviously, those of us that have watched college basketball.
Raleigh was a class act. He never really complained about stuff. He went about his business. He didn't open his mouth. He wasn't like that moron over at Georgetown, Thompson. Because that guy always had something to say. He was always problematic.
It's true.
Right? He's always opening his mouth. But Raleigh was a class act no matter what. So how about a round of applause for Raleigh being a class
when
act?
he did that, when he had that game. When he had that game in 1985, let me tell you that was a David versus Goliath. That was an 8 seed and barely an 8 seed against a number 1. And here's Georgetown just, fighting tooth and nail against this scrappy team whose biggest man was just at 6 feet 9 inches tall, going against the number 1 pick in that year's draft and Patrick Ewing, and they ended up winning that game by a bucket, one single bucket.
Right.
And that was great. He was like a 1A to Jim Valvano running out on the court. So you see Raleigh running out on the court and looking for Ed Pinckney when he grabbed that rebound and he fell down to the ground, and that was the end of it. And all you see is the bewildered, the deer-in-the-headlight look for Patrick Ewing once again getting robbed of an NCAA title.
Right. Well, and you know what? Ewing just didn't deserve it. It is what it is, folks. I'm sorry. I never have been a big Patrick Ewing guy. Never a big supporter. Just because I thought he was a crybaby. He's a crybaby at Georgetown. He's a crybaby in the NBA. With the Knicks, he always had that sour look on his face. Like, oh, come on, man, how come it was me? You know who else had that? Eldon Campbell, who played for the Lakers. Eldon he was always, why me? How come me? Poor me. Like he was a victim on the court. It was disgusting. So, that's my opinion on Patrick Ewing. Moving on. Lenny.
All right.
Lenny, listen. Ridiculous money being thrown at players when teams are restricted with salary caps. Our friends that are in the Buffalo, Niagara, Hamilton, Ontario, I've got a Hamilton story, by the way, and the Toronto area, they're probably scratching their heads saying, it may not be a good idea for us to pay $10 million a year for $10 million? Look, and you've got to secure your players, but you can't throw that kind of money at a player. Let's face it, even, and you've got to let this guy show that he's worthy of top dollar. And I think it would have been one of those things for Matthew Stafford, for example, as you're going into the season. If this guy's leading you to a playoff drive, fine, you give him that incentive maybe halfway through the season at the bye week, but you don't make it public until the season is over that this is what he's signed for. It doesn't matter what he's signed for, because if the team doesn't do well, all you're going to do is piss the fans off by saying, why'd they give him $27 million a year, right? In Jack Eichel's case, they give him $10 million a year, which is lunacy in the first place. But you give a guy that kind of money before the season starts, that really isn't a proven commodity. I mean, so you have, Lenny, you've got one guy making all the money. What about everybody else? How's that work?
And how is this going to help them in the Atlantic Division? I mean, is this by extending him and with this big contract and not being able to put some other pieces to the puzzle together, you're putting all of your resources into an alleged superstar of your team. But then how are you helping this superstar to surround him with more weapons? We need to do that in any sport. You cannot have just one or two people, especially in the NHL. You cannot just have two guys that are going to carry a team. You have to have some guys that are going to be the muscle. They're going to be these grinding defensemen that can sometimes score. Who do they have right now on Buffalo that's going to be helping Jack Eichel?
Well, that's a really good question. And that's what the fans are asking. If you look at their moves in the offseason, I mean, look, you got a couple of decent guys from the Minnesota Wild, but what you don't have are a stable of people to put around him where he's going to excel and make it worth some mad amount of money. But this team will be lucky to climb out of the cellar. So are you saying this is our poster boy for the next, 8 years? If that is the case, well, what the hell have we done to build around him to ensure his success and the team's success? Otherwise, it's going to look like the Ducks back in 1993-94 when they had Solani in Korea and nobody else. Remember, you had two great players up front, but you had no help. How does that work? I mean, Connor McDavid over in, and I know the people in Toronto love to hear me talk about Edmonton, but the fact is, when you think about the money thrown at Connor McDavid, at least they have a team around him in Edmonton. And they're a bona fide playoff team. This is a quality club. And they're going to make some real strides to make a run for the cup for sure. Maybe in a couple of years, they're going to be ready for it. But I don't understand how the Sabres can blow that kind of cash on this kind of kid with nobody around him and not the kind of track record that's worthy of that kind of money. Just my opinion.
And how much production has he had in the last few years for the team? I mean, is he that productive and he's that much of a difference maker that you're giving him that kind of money? And I know that we don't talk about salaries, Sal, on here, but when it's something that affects your team and that you're basically, by having this guy, you're causing a detriment to the rest of your team to be able to build quality players around the guy.
Yeah.
And is it somebody who's going to put people in the seats? Sure, it might be. But is it somebody?
Yeah, but for the whole season,
that's going to lead you to the cup,
right? For the whole season,
right.
Is that what's going to happen? I mean, think about what's happening, here in Las Vegas with our Golden Knights. We got a goalie that's basically made out of Swiss cheese in Marc-Andre Fleury. He's had people in front of him to protect him. Now you've got a team that really can't protect him. So you thought he was mediocre when he was with the Penguins. Now you're going to see just how good or not that he really is. And I'm a realist. How do you, and here Bucky's over here, he's got the, I don't know, kind of look, and he doesn't know crap about hockey in the first place. So go ahead and give us your opinion, your professional opinion, Bucky, on the NHL and what the Golden Knights are going to do.
Well, okay, I started following hockey when we had the draft, the expansion draft, and I remember you saying at the time that Fleury was not that great of a pick. And I looked at the others in the way they were graded, and he seemed to be one of the top goalies that was available. So maybe
there were two guys better than him available that were a fraction of the price.
maybe he's just a short-term fix, and they're an expansion team,
No, he's
and
a
they're
draw.
not going to win that much anyway.
No, he's the draw. He's the big name for the draw. Oh, we have multiple Cup winner, Marc-Andre Fleury. Big deal. So you've got this guy, and then, again, you got nobody in front of him, and you really only have a couple of guys up front. I mean, these guys are going to get scored on very often. You know, I just picked my games, like I said, for the season. I was talking about it yesterday. I don't think they're going to win a game. Out of the 10 games, 11 games that I have, I realistically can't see them winning one of those games. And yes, one of them is against the Shane Doan-less Arizona Coyotes, who are actually vastly improved. So I can't see how this Golden Knight team wins more than 10 games this year. I think it's just purely on accident if they win 10 games.
Wow.
I mean, it's going to be tough sledding. You know, they're going to score some goals, but they're going to give up a lot. And Fleury's really not good. And if Fleury was any good, and we have a special guest that just popped in, and we're gonna have our special guest. I'm going to announce him right now. Folks, listen, we have a special treat on today. Now, we are talking about hockey, and in the next segment that's going to start in just a few minutes, we're going to bring him on, but we've got 21-year professional hockey player, 16 years in the NHL, 5 in the KHL over in Russia, and that would be Darius Kasparitis, one of the toughest guys in the league in the last 25, 30 years.
I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. That's 800-298-3173.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal here with Colonel Bucky and our co-host, Long Beach Lenny, and we have special guest with us, 21-year pro hockey player, 16 in the NHL, 5 in the KHL, gold medalist, Darius Kasparitis. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm good, thank you.
Great to have you on. I was just showing our producer some of the big hits that you've made in the league, and, I mean, come on. Some of the hits, some of the fights. I mean, let's face it. I think you had, in the NHL alone, 1,379 penalty minutes in 16 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't know. I have to look at my stats, but most of them are two-minute penalties. I was never a big fighter.
No, but
So,
we like the big
2
hits,
minutes.
though. We like the big hits. So think about the... let me ask you a question. Okay, before I get into what the game is today versus what it was when you were playing, what are your most prize hits? Who is your prize target that you just love to hit?
Oh, I realized when I came to NHL, the bigger the target is, the easier it was for me to hit it. So I realized if you go after the best player on the team, so the other team is going to stop playing and try to go back after you and try to, they basically, it's like intimidation factor. So, any star player from the other team who you want to shut it down as a defenseman, so if you hit them pretty hard, the other team gets very upset. So they want to punish you and they basically stop playing. That was my goal.
I think you're pretty good at it, too. I
Yeah, I did my best. Now when I'm older, I kind of feel different, because I feel like I was playing like an idiot, But that's what I did, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, it was very entertaining for the fans too. Got to tell you, I've seen many hits, man. I love them.
It's all about the fans, Every time, I think if the goal scorer has the pressure to score goals, so the guy like me, I always look for the big hit to get the fans going, and that's what I did, And it was a lot of pressure. If you can find the big hits during the game, I always felt like I have to find something. So sometimes that's why I took the penalty, because I went behind her, more than I did.
So let me ask you this: what was what's the craziest thing that you've seen on the ice and all the time that you played? I don't care whether it's in the NHL or KHL or whether it was the national team. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen on the ice? Like, I can't believe I just saw that.
I don't it was so many games. So I remember things like I was in the league, and we had a guy on the bench, Ray Ferraro, was chirping another guy from the team, calling his wife, different names, and just making fun of her because she was on a Playboy cover. And the next day, the guy got traded to our team. So it was so awkward to see, him to go there and say, listen, that was not real. I was just try to, go under his skin. But that's what's good about hockey. Sometimes you do things, and as long as you don't cross the line, I think you always end up playing with the same player that you actually make fun of it. So we all understand the game. That sometimes you have to take, but to give. But when you're on the same team, you have a same goal. To win the hockey game.
Darius, what that reminded me of is out of the years that that Brendan Shanahan played with the St. Louis Blues, and when he was dealt off to Detroit, the look in the locker room. I remember seeing the video. I mean, he had a look like, all right, guys, now you're not going to fight me. Now I'm going to be fighting with you. But the look of astonishment was like, you've got to be kidding. It was just like what you just said.
It is the truth. I remember getting traded from New York Islanders to Pittsburgh Penguins, and I was like one of the most hated player in Pittsburgh, because I was playing for the Islanders, and I play not really nice against all the big players like Lemieux, Jagr, Francis during the 92-93 playoffs. And I remember when I got traded, I was like, are you kidding me? I got traded to Pittsburgh Penguins? How are we going to go there? How are we going to look at how are we going to deal with those guys? I think they hate me. People hate me there. And the moment I stepped into a locker room, the guys welcomed me, and I feel like part of the team again, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Lenny.
So I got a question for you here, Darius. Now, when you started, basically when you were younger, that was a real way of life for the young kids there. That's what they had. They had hockey. Now, when you went to play over at the Soviet team at the age of 14, now I read that you ended up getting pretty discouraged and quit and went home. What inspired you to go back? Because if you didn't, you wouldn't really be where you are today.
You know, I left my home when I was 14, and I spent a year in Moscow. So I came from Lithuania, you know, which at that time I thought my Russian was that good. But when I went to Russia, I didn't speak lick of Russian. So the year spending in Russia, you know, playing for Dynamo Moscow, I was so homesick. You know, I missed my mom, my dad, my sister. So what happened? The previous summer, I came back to Russia to start getting ready for the new season. And I went to a soccer match, and I was rooting for the Lithuanian team playing against Spartak Moscow. And what happened, the fans were going back to Lithuania. They told me, "Oh, you're going to stay here. You know, we're going back to Lithuania." And I said, "You know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm going back with you guys." So I went back home on the train, and I came home that night. And my mom was shocked. She was, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Mom, I don't want to play hockey. I want to stay here. I want to live in Lithuania. I want to be with you guys." So what she did, she called my coach, my first coach, Alex Tikipro, and he came with this car, Lada, I remember, and they put me back in the car. I remember I was crying, and they drove me back for 9 hours to Moscow from Lithuania back to Moscow, and that actually the next day I was invited to go. First time I was invited to represent the Soviet Union, you know, for the junior team. So it was a kind of good decision on my mom's part, but at the same time, I was really, you know, heartbroken. How can she send me back? But today, as I remember that, you know, that was a big, big, great thing she did. You know, I don't know what would happen, but I'm really grateful for my mother.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've had so much experience. Now think about your gold medal team, right? You know, take a step into that organization, onto that team, and you know, all the way from where you just said you started. And then playing on a gold medal team, that almost seems like you came full circle on it. How'd you feel about that?
You know, it's a very, as I bring my memories back, it's great. You know, I come from Lithuania where there's no hockey. So after age 14, you know, I go to Russia, and at age 16, I play my first game professionally for the team that I watched on TV as a kid. You know, I play with the players and against the players that I actually look up at. You know, I try to be and copy them on the streets, you know, and then I play against them at age 16, and then, you know, age 19, I become Olympic gold medalist. It just happened so quick, you know, in 5-year span, you know, I come from little boy to basically a young adult, and, you know, having all this, you know, already all these achievements, Olympic champion, world champion, and things like that. It was amazing. You know, it was amazing. And then going to NHL right away, which I never dreamed of playing in NHL because, you know, it was impossible during Soviet times to even think about going to play different countries. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the things, I was born at the right time, I guess. You know, and I feel very fortunate. You know.
Well, Darius, was it harder? Do you think it's harder for players that play in the KHL to go to the NHL, I'm saying as far as culturally speaking, or going from the NHL and going to play in the KHL?
You know, both leagues, the hockey is a hard game. You know, no matter what level you play, you still have to play, you know, of course NHL is the best league, you know, and KHL is a different ice surface, much bigger. But I think the times change. You know, people in the KHL right now get paid a lot of money, you know, so a lot of kids who are actually growing up in Russia, they don't really strive to play in the NHL anymore, you know. Maybe 10 years back was different, or maybe more than 10 years back, it was different. Guys had no choice. You know, they knew if they want to make big, they have to go to the NHL. Right now, they just, you know, stay home and play in front of their family. And NHL, usually, if you have a chance to play in NHL, not a lot of guys go to KHL, but if you cannot make it in NHL, so it's a big possibility for you to go actually and play in KHL and make decent living and still play a very good level of hockey.
Now, I got a quick quick question for you and a thank you for something. I love it that you've given the fans the greatest thank you tribute and wave by going to center ice and putting up the stick and saying thank you to the fans after a home win. What initiated that? What caused you to come up with that?
It was a game against Washington Capitals. We had overtime and then we had shootouts. So what happened? We actually went. That was the longest shootout, game until Florida Panthers broke the record maybe a year ago. So what happened? Everybody on my team had a penalty shot except me. I was the last guy, and Marek Malik went before me and he scored this highlight goal. That it was on ESPN, was everywhere basically, showing everywhere in the world. And what happened? That we were so excited that happened. So I came to Jaromir Jagr. So listen, let's go in the middle of the ice and just raise our sticks up and just to just say thank you to the fans, because that's what we did with Europe most of the time. After the games. So Jaromir was into it right away. So yeah, that's a great idea. And I told the other guys, I'm like, let's go guys, let's go in the middle, let's do this. Everybody looked at me like I was crazy, like what's wrong with you? So we did it. And people went crazy. So we decided to do it.
Darius, we're gonna have you stay with us for a second. We're up against a commercial break. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with NHL superstar Darius Kasparitis in just a few moments. Come back and stay with us.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this commercial right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196. Paid for by Legal Alert Line.
If you're trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more.
800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. 800-957-6209. That's 800-957-6209.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus, folks. If you're listening to us on iHeartRadio, thanks for tuning in there. If you're listening to us on any of our NBC Sports affiliates, again, those run from Southern California all the way up to New York. And we're over here on the SB Nation affiliate in Las Vegas, KMZQ. That's AM 670 The Score. And we are back with Darius Kasparitis, former NHL superstar, big hitter. And, wow, he certainly played his fair share of games and has his fair share of penalty minutes, but a fun guy to talk to, a guy with a wealth of knowledge, gold medalist. And we're also here with Long Beach Lenny, our co-host, and Colonel Bucky. So, Darius, let me jump back in and ask you a question. What I'm really after is I want to find out your thoughts on the two-line pass being allowed now versus, for the balance for a large amount of your career, it was not available.
One thing I like it, it opens the game more. I think more, and it's easier for guys to go behind a D and get the long pass. I think it's much more fun to play that way. I play with both of them, so I think it doesn't matter. When you play professional hockey, it doesn't matter if you have two-line pass or one-line pass. It's always hard to make the pass.
Right.
So for the fans, yeah, it's fun to watch. But for the players, the coach always finds different how to defend, different rule change.
Right. Well, take that same no two-line pass rule and then weigh that against the left wing lock, right? And so you're still going to have a hard time getting through the neutral zone anyway, right?
Yeah, sometimes they just have different systems. They have 1 4 and 4 guys back. So it's always something. The guys always find out different ways to get the team playing defensively. So I don't think it changes a lot, but it's more fun to watch if you can make a long pass.
So let me ask you this: when you think about your defensive pairings, whether it was with the Pens, the Rangers, the Isles, even the Avalanche, who was your favorite defensive pairing? The guy that you knew always had your back in case something bad happened.
Well, play with a lot of guys, but I like the guys who can talk, who scream, and I like Ian Moran to play with me in Pittsburgh for a couple of years. So I always heard him talking. If I go in the corner and somebody was going after me, he used to always scream and say, Casper, keep your head up, or make a reverse, or pass left, right. So it's so much easier to play with a guy like that, because it's like you have like 2 sets of eyes. So I like the guys who really can talk, and I think that's very important. If you like to play with, it's much easier to play with it.
Yager's he's still skating. He's going to play again this year somewhere. Hell, I think, you could probably lace him up and get out there yourself. Get yourself another contract. Why not?
I'm actually getting ready. I'm training to play for Team Lithuania because I never represented Lithuania in any international play officially. So my goal when I retire in 2009, I always had this little thing deep inside of me say, well, I never played for Lithuania. It would be nice for me to just play at least one tournament. So I'm really hoping, and I'm training for, to represent Lithuania in 2018 World Championships. It's going to happen in Lithuania in April, but it's a 3rd division. But still, it's still something I want to do before I really, really, retire from hockey. And I would never retire from hockey. I love this game. I played it. Well, I played 3 times a week, and I want to play until I'm 90 or 100 years old. But,
right.
I just love it. I don't know how the guys, how a lot of guys quit the game and would never skate again. I can't understand that. I just love it too much.
Well, if Chelios can play till he's 50, you can play till you're 50 as well.
Well, listen, I don't think Chelios has 6 kids. You know what the problem is? The funny thing, when I was playing and I was making money, my wife had no problem with that. But now, every time I go play hockey, I feel like I have to lie. Because I go play hockey. Because
right.
She always gets a little bit upset. Like, well, she goes, why are you going to play hockey? Why can't you take care of the kids? I'd be like, it happens sometimes. So I always have to kind of tell my wife and convince her that hockey is important for me.
But that kind of, Lenny, this reminds me of when, I think it was in Rocky II, when Apollo Creed was trying to goat Rocky back into the ring, and he said to Adrian, well, Adrian, I'm a fighter. That's what I do. I think it's one of those things.
Adrian.
Yeah, and so, Darius, you're a hockey player. That's what you do, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to tell her that.
Well, tell her to get with the program. Go ahead, Lenny.
Yeah.
So, Darius, I had a question here. Right now, you have a lot of pro athletes in this day and age that, especially with social media, they network with one another. It seems like they're almost just connected in more of a visual way to the fans. Back then, when you played, was there a little bit of a standoff, a little bit of animosity? You didn't like that team, you didn't like that guy, and you were going to make a point to show it? Or after a game, did you guys just, hey, we're all just hockey players and we're all just friends?
Not really. When I came to the league, I played for New York Islanders, and I think I remember the hatred towards New York Rangers. It was like a war, Every game you play against them, I don't think any guy from our team had a friend of New York Rangers, And the things change a lot. I remember even, after the game, you go to a bar, and God forbid you meet the Ranger fans. They go after you, say, you horse shit, you're so dirty. And then suddenly the fight breaks out in the bar. Fans, Islander fans, Ranger fans fighting against each other because somebody, said something, not nice to one of the players. So it was, I think it was more, I don't know, because I played for the Rangers then, and I didn't really felt that way when I played the Islanders, but even when I played for the Pittsburgh, every time we played the Rangers, it was, and like, Philly, it was so much more, intense than, it still is if you watch playoffs, but I think guys are more friendly now than they used to be, because, cell phones and all the media, yeah, you're right, it's hard to hide things that you do today, so there's no secrets anymore, and you can't really, and if you say something stupid, then everybody goes after you, it's just how it is now. It's a different life, but that's what we have to do now.
Darius, I grew up in Chicago, of course, a Blackhawks guy, watching the Hawks play the Wings. I mean, exactly what you're talking about. There were more fights in the stands than there were on the ice. I mean, whether it was Probert and Chelios fighting each other, it didn't matter. Actually, it was kind of funny when Probert came over to the Blackhawks. But my point was, you see it in the bars, and nowadays it's more so the St. Louis Blues, because not only do they play a dirty brand of hockey, but the fans are probably now worse than those in Detroit. And so everywhere they go, they start bar fights, exactly what you're saying, and you don't even want to be in the same place as them because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's that's what it is. And I think, I don't know about the Ranger Islander rivalry anymore, but I know the Philly fans are still, I think the best
right.
fans are, is in Philly because they are very passionate, and if they hate you until you die, basically. I actually had a charity game a year ago, and I was playing for charity, and this guy was wearing a Flyers jersey, and the fan was screaming his lungs out and telling me that I sucked, I was dirty, and I was like, come on, man, this is a charity game. I'm not really playing for you anymore. And that guy was so upset at me, It was like, 8 years ago.
Yeah, but Darius, you were the enemy. You got to remember. I mean, once you're an enemy of the Flyers, for example, I mean, come on, that city has lost more professional games than any other city in America. So they're sort of used to losing, but when they have the hated guy, it's real easy to hate somebody that, knocks out their players for multiple games. They're never going to forget you.
I know that. I was impressed, that they still hate me so much. So I try to stay away from Philly.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So let me ask you this. I know you've got a bunch of things that you've got to do when you get off of this interview. Is there a business or a charity or something that you'd like to get the word out to people, maybe a telephone number? Tell everybody about what you're doing and how to get a hold of your business or whatever charity or fund that you're trying to promote.
I don't really have charity. I'm working to develop business now. So, building residential buildings in Florida. I'm working for the company. Also, I'm a father of 6 kids. So it's nothing much, And my wife actually has a clothing brand called Lively. So it's LIVLY clothing.com. She created that, and it's very beautiful. But otherwise, I'm living a life, I'm very happy where I'm at, being a dad and being experienced being a dad, after I retired which is I cannot even explain how I feel, because I'm always present in my kids' lives, and I don't have to go on road trips. And but otherwise, I'm just I'm just enjoying it, and I'm very happy where I'm at.
So, Darius, I got a quick question for you, and then I want you to go ahead and plug real quick any social media that you have out there. Do you consider yourself, and this isn't bragging, do you consider yourself the greatest Lithuanian athlete that has come out of Lithuania?
Oh, it's we always have the greatest athletes, which is Arvydas Sabonis. I feel like he's a legend. As a basketball player, and basketball is big in Lithuania. But when it comes to hockey, I have to share this thing being greatest hockey player from Lithuania with Darius Kasparitis, which he had a great career in NHL also.
Yeah, I remember him.
So it's two different things. I think only one hockey player who's going to win a gold medal from Lithuania. That's for sure. So in Olympics,
there you go.
I feel like I can brag on that for the rest of my life. But otherwise, it's a lot of great players come from Lithuania. But our legend is Arvydas Sabonis. Come on, he's our legend. It's like a Maradona or Pele, or he's our icon there.
We at the circus here will totally agree with you on that. We're all in the same age group here, and Arvydas Sabonis, we definitely saw him. Darius, we want to thank you very, very much for being on the Sports Circus. I know that the fans were really educated on a lot of the questions and the answers. Thank you for being candid with us, and we would love for you to come back and join the circus again. Can we give him a round of applause, Colonel, in the booth here? There we go.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Wow!
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
All right, break it up.